And welcome to the second part of this vanishing point tool tutorial. In this part we're going to take a look at how to actually start to clone out areas of your picture. So once you've created your plane, what we do now is select the stamp tool, very similar to the clone stamp tool within Photoshop. Same way, you just select the area you want to clone by holding down Alt and then clicking on the new area to start your clone. So click on the stamp tool. A shortcut for that is just S. As soon as you do it, the grid will disappear and you'll just have the outline of the plane. Take a quick look at the options that we have here. We've got diameter, which is the diameter of the brush that we're using. Next one along is the hardness, so that's the hardness, same as any brush tool, as is the opacity. The next one along, quite interestingly, is heal, and that's the same as the healing brush tool. So that either enables you to blend in with whatever's behind what you're cloning over the top of an area of the picture, or you can switch it off, in which case it'll just straight clone. The last option is align. So quick demonstration of aligning. Let's turn heal off. If I tick that on, and we'll just clone some bricks over this window here. If I hold down Alt just to set our clone point, first thing to note is that the plane has turned green, saying that you're ready to go. If I go over the shutter here and I start to move the clone around, you'll see it's just cloned there. And as I move the brush around, the area for cloning will always be constrained to the distance between the original point for cloning and where you have cloned to. If you click off a line, and again we start to do our clone, every time we release our mouse button, the point of cloning will return to the original place. So both of those are quite useful depending on what you're doing with the clone. Just undo those by going Ctrl Z. And what we're going to do first of all is just to clone out this plastic bag in the middle left hand window. So the first thing to do is we're just going to zoom into the picture slightly, and we do this by going Ctrl+. Do that 3 times just so we get nice and close. And then we need to move the picture over, so hold down your spacebar and we can just move the image by just left clicking and moving the picture across. So we're going to start by just cloning out this plastic bag, and to do that what we do with the stamp tool selected, hold down Alt to pick our point for cloning, and with the vanishing point tool it's always worth just taking a look at the image and finding an area which you can match up quite easily. So here on the sill we've got an area of lightness. If we just left click to select our first point, keeping the Alt key down, and then if we release the Alt key and start to move our mouse around, we can actually see a sample of the area it's going to clone. If we want to increase the brush size, we can use our right square bracket key. If we want to reduce the brush size, we use our left square bracket key. So if we take it down so it's just we can just see the sample of the sill itself, and then we can move that down and match it up with the area just underneath the left shutter, and if we left click and start to drag, and we can see that clones out perfectly the first part of our plastic bag. Now we're going to just sort out the area of brickwork here, and to do that we're going to take another sample, again just below the sill. If we move the brush along we can actually see the sample, and we can see we just want to reduce the size of that slightly. So just use the left square bracket key just to reduce the brush size. We'll match that up and we see just a slight shadow of the wire there, and again we can just move that across, and that nicely blends that in. Now here we've got rather sharp match between our cloned area and the original brickwork, and to get around that we can just switch on our healing, take a new clone selection, so we'll just click here on the left hand side of the vent, take over the top of the newly cloned area and just down, and we can see that's nicely clones that in. And again we'll just patch that up a little bit, and that healing will actually blend in areas quite nicely. So there we've managed to actually remove the plastic bag from below the sill. If we just take a look above the sill, we can just see a little bit of remnants there on the washing line of the plastic bag. So we can actually just clone in a bit of another window. So if we go over to the middle window, and we can just see there's a red peg at the bottom right of the shutter. Click Alt, and we're just going to mark our point just at the top of the sill where the red peg is. Move that across, and we can just see where the corner edge of the shutter on the right starts. And then we can just click and drag in that shadow area until we've just cloned out the top of the bag. And if we now zoom out of the picture, we can see that's completely eradicated any remnants of that plastic bag. So really, the stamp tool is very easy to use. It just takes a little bit of time and creativity to clone out all of those areas. We'll run through that again with something a little bit more complicated, which is the tights and pants that are hanging outside this middle window. So if we zoom in again and just hold down space to shift the window across, what we're going to do is just remove all of these pants and tights from this window using the window that we've already repaired on the left hand side. And again, we're just going to set a clone point, so we'll just select the area of light just here, just hold down Alt and click to set our point. We need to make sure that the healing is off, so we'll just click off there, and then if we go down to the sill, and then we can just left click and drag the mouse across, and we just see that area cloning straight out. Obviously at the moment that's not perfect, so if we go back and just clone up a little bit more, and we get a little bit of the edge of that sill in, and we can just place that there and clone that in. Don't worry that you're copying over the actual window itself too much, because now what we're going to do is rebuild that window again using the clone and just bring down the center part of the window to match up with our newly created sill. So again, click Alt just to set our clone point, and you can see we can just drag that down and line it up, and we can just get that to match in with our new sill. And again, we'll do that exactly the same over on the left hand side, and just drag that down to meet up with the sill. Set a point here, and we can just use that just to draw back in the detail of the window. And as I said, it does take a little bit of time and creativity, but after not too long, you've rebuilt that window and the sill, which wasn't there or was disguised by the pants and tights before. Now if we come down, have a look at the bottom of the sill. Again, we're going to have to clone in from the sill on the left hand side. Again, drag that sill, and we can just quickly copy and clone most of that back in. Take that just down a little bit further, and we just take some of the shadow in as well. Now the final part of taking these tights out is obviously to remove these deep shadows, and we can do that by simply using the heal tool. So I'm going to switch that back on, hold down our spacebar just to move the image across, and we're going to clone an area of brickwork from this nice clear patch in the middle here. Hold down Alt, left click just to select that, and what we can now do is just very quickly clone in the new brickwork. Keep an eye on where you're cloning from, because you don't want to start incorporating some of that shutter into the brickwork below the window. And you can see exactly how the heal brush works, and it's just healing the new brickwork in over the top of the old brickwork. So again, quite a natural and realistic look. Now if I zoom out, we can see we've got quite a good clone out of that area of washing. There's a few little areas left just here, and we want to do a little bit of a repair on the windowsill here. And we can just go back in, and if you've got areas, I've got a bit too much of curvature going on for the right hand pane here. So again, hold down Alt, we'll select an area of the window pane, and then we can match that up, and we can just reduce the brush size again slightly, so we're not pulling in any of that white of the other pane. Just move that across just to rebuild the bottom of that windowsill. So by using the stamp tool, different brush sizes, and switching heel on and off, you can very quickly just clone out quite large areas such as that. So that's the stamp tool, which takes a little bit of creativity and getting used to, but it's great for taking out a lot of the fiddly detail within the image. Now another way to start cloning is using the marquee tool, and we'll take a look at that in the next part of this tutorial.